Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks, with your hosts,
Monica.
Susan. Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks. I'm Susan.
I'm Monica.
And it's a wonderful day in our neighborhood.
It is, for the most part.
Well,
No, you know what? It's nice because it's been cloudy and it hasn't been like super hot. It's a little muggy, but
it's way
cloudy.
muggy.
Yes.
It is like you go outside, you're taking a shower.
But it's 87 degrees compared to 103. Hello, I'll take it.
See, what people misunderstand is that whenever it's, 105 degrees here, it's usually because it's dry. But when it's like in the 90s, that means it's humid, and it's just humid now. I don't like it.
I'll live with it.
Well, and that's why, in our last episode, hopefully you enjoyed that, and you went down to Padre Island National Seashore.
Seashore. Sally sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah, so hopefully you checked out.
Susie sells seashells by the seashore.
Hopefully you checked that out a few episodes ago. But today, we have an exciting podcast for you today. Today's discussion is going to be on Devil's Tower. And some of you might be asking yourselves, and what is Devil's Tower? Well, Devil's Tower, 1, is a national monument.
Okay.
But 2, its claim to fame, anyone? It was represented in a movie. And now I think back on it and I'm like, ooh, I wonder how the indigenous folks felt about that. But that's a whole other story right now. But for right now, it's a national monument, and it's up there in Wyoming.
Are you going to talk about the movie?
Well, oh, that's right. I guess I should say what the movie.
God.
Well, I don't know. Does everybody remember what the movie is? And if not, the movie was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So does everybody remember Richard Dreyfuss
That's all I remember.
Was carving...
Oh, with a
Devil's
clay,
Tower?
yes.
He was doing it in his mashed potatoes.
Oh, mashed potatoes. Okay. Didn't he make a clay or something? I only watched that movie once, believe it or not.
I'm sure he did it in many forms because he kept seeing it.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is that, so he was doing it and it was referenced to extraterrestrial life, right?
Yes.
Which I'm sure that the Native Americans probably took offense to that.
You think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so that Devil's Tower was, it has had different names, right? Until the white man anglicized it to Devil's Tower. But it was called Bear Lodge by the indigenous folks. It was called Bear Teepee. It was called Bad God's Tower.
Okay.
And so what they're saying is that when the Europeans came and, were like discovering America, they came across it and they either did a bad translation of what the name was and made it Devil's Tower, or they just made it up.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Devil, bad god. Historically, what? Devil, Lucifer, there wasn't a god, but he was up there, and so I could maybe see that.
But there's no point of that is an extraterrestrial.
How do you know?
Well, anyhow, but it's interesting that in the world...
I've seen Sasquatch up there.
Don't get me started on Sasquatch again. No, I don't think there's been a Sasquatch sighting in Wyoming.
It. There is... Oh, well, really? You don't think so? I think Sasquatch is everywhere.
Yes. Yes, I know. I know you believe that.
No, I don't. But I don't really know a whole lot about Devil's Tower, so you're going to have to educate me.
Well, the most neat thing is that it is a national monument. It was the first national monument.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Theodore Roosevelt protected this as a national monument. Now, before that, it was being protected in different formats and stuff. But ultimately, it became a national monument in 1906. So it's been around a while.
Yeah. And that's a second claim to fame.
That is a national monument?
Oh, the first national monument and in a movie.
Man, there you go. And this
a very
is what
famous movie.
Scripts are written of.
Oh, there you go.
So, but again, as with many of the places that we talk about, there's always indigenous folks that were there before,
Yes.
the Europeans came and took the land away.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yes.
But the way that, because again, like I said, they called it Bear's Lodge or Bear's Teepee, because many of the ancestral stories from the indigenous folks include stories about the way, because if you think about Devil's Tower and how it's shaped, and it looks like it's got like claw marks on it, they're
Okay.
columns, but claw marks, it's like there were people that were stranded and this mountain rose up and then the bear tried to get them and was making claw marks, and that's how it formed.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
kind of a loose way of saying those are the different ways that the different indigenous folks talked about that, and that, and it varies how many people were stuck on top, and it was like, I don't know, 7 because it matches up to 7 stars in the heavens or something, and there's a lot of meaning put into it by the indigenous folks.
Sure. Sure.
So, but let's just talk about where it's at. So it's in Wyoming, and what the cool thing is that if you go and you drive there, you're driving down this road and you can see it. Like you can see it far away.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just have to pull off and stop and take a picture because you're like, that's pretty doggone cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just out there in the middle and not a whole lot.
So it's kind of like a plain or desert area with just this one.
Pretty
Okay.
much. It's this one monolithic structure that sits out there.
Wow.
And it's just cool because when you're on the highway going to Devil's Tower, you literally, it just kind of comes up and it's there, and seriously everybody stops and takes a picture of it.
So I wonder geologically how that happened.
Well, I'm so glad that you asked that.
Oh, really? Okay.
'Cause
Please.
I can tell you.
Do tell.
There are many different theories, but most everybody agrees that there was some sort of magma bush up from the earth,
Okay. Yeah.
through the Earth's crust that formed this. And what they say is that what you see today was actually 1 or 2 miles below the surface of the
Oh,
Earth.
wow.
That what you're seeing is what's left over after years and years and thousands of years of erosion.
Okay.
That this part was left because it's made of igneous rock.
So everything was here.
Mm-hmm.
There was this one thing here,
Uh-huh.
and then all of this eroded to
Uh-huh.
leave that.
Uh-huh.
That is weird.
Fascinating,
But,
right?
Yeah, but interesting because I would have thought the opposite. That there would have been like some kind of a shift or an earthquake or something where everything kind of would have fallen and left that standing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes sense too. Erosion, obviously, over millions and millions of years. I mean, look at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, right?
It's just erosion.
It's just erosion.
It's just erosion.
I don't know why I got the
Where
Bee
do
Gees.
those come
I
from?
don't know. The Bee Gees of all. Anyhow.
No.
But it is that much erosion that took place. So, one, you have to think about this cataclysmic thing that happened that caused this force to come up through the Earth's crust, right? That formed these hexagonal or 3 to 8 side columns that
Right.
all squirted up into this thing in this
And
igneous
all that
rock.
is underground.
Right, and that all that ground eventually fades away, and there's a river nearby, right? So we know that water and things, and obviously
Right.
it rains and stuff out there too, right? That has basically shaped what it is. Yeah.
To me, I mean, what are the odds that there was just one of those up there in that area? I think that's an interesting geological
Are you calling
question.
BS?
No, I'm not calling BS, but I'm just trying to figure out logistically how that would work.
Yeah, so there are different theories about essentially how exactly it came up and all of that, but everybody pretty much agrees that erosion has taken place and this
Yeah.
is kind of what's left there. But yeah, there is not one definitive, this is
Sure.
exactly what happened and this is, what we're tracking or what have you. But so anyhow, so it's this monolithic structure, which is just the coolest. So when you see it from the road, you're like, that's pretty cool.
Right.
But just wait until you get up close because then you're like, wow, that is really cool. So you drive up, and once you kind of get into the compound, it's like a 3-mile road. Once you hit kind of like the, the station, kind of check in, and then just go on to the visitor center. Now, I'll tell you this: you get up to the visitor center, it's not very big. That parking lot is not very big. And in fact, they have places for you to park a little further away that you can then hike and then kind of continue trails and stuff. That'll get you to the visitor center and then do some other trails. So you just have to plan appropriately. Otherwise, you won't get parking.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's only like 500,000 people, I think, that visit this a year.
Well, and that's, other than the hiking, is that the only thing drawing people there?
Well, that and close encounters and
Yeah.
people who climb it.
No. Oh, there's people that climb it?
Yeah, they have
Oh,
about 4 to
holy.
5,000 people that climb it a year.
How tall is it?
It's like 867 feet tall.
Okay, wow. Wow.
But think about it. You're climbing this thing that are these columns, and they kind of have to squeeze into the cracks to, get hold and use. And this is like a big deal because you can climb, but the way that you climb has to be like a clean climb. That the way that you use you can't have fixed ropes and stuff.
Right.
You can use the things that you stick in the rock that expand, that hold you, kind of thing, because those are removable. They
Right.
have to be things that are removable because this is kind of like a sacred place.
Well, yeah. Wow.
It's really cool.
That would kind of. Oof.
And then you have to go to the visitor center because you have to get your brochure, because this brochure is actually pretty telling. It gives you a lot of information, and then you can get some additional information, and then they have like a newspaper and all. And I recommend you getting that because it'll tell you about the different hikes that are out there and give you information all about Devil's Tower, so you can check everything out.
I am kind of. Well, I mean, thank God for national parks, and thank God that there's ways to conserve and preserve this, because if that wasn't a national park, if that wasn't protected, I'm telling you right now, there would be all kinds of rides coming off that thing. There'd be some kind of, gliding thing, or somebody would fix a zip line to it by now. There would have been all kinds of, decimating things happening in that area, I can guarantee you.
Okay, it's funny that you say that.
There's a zip line. Okay, never mind.
So this was around World War II air time. Now, the top of Devil's Tower is only like 1.25 acre large. It's like, like a big football field size kind of thing. Somewhere around World War II, there was a professional parachutist that was trying to prove that you can land in you can target a small spot to land. And they're like, hey, we're going to try that on Devil's Tower. Unbeknownst to the NPS, National Park Service group. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to jump out and, whatever. So he jumps out. He lands on Devil's Tower. Now, the way he was going to get down, he was going to rappel down with the rope. So the rope gets tossed out to him. Well, that didn't make it to the top. He made it to the top, but it didn't make it to the top. So he was kind of stranded up there. So, yeah, they had to go up and rescue him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, well, he proved his point that you could certainly parachute into a small target, but you then got stuck.
So you're saying he didn't have a rope long enough to rappel down?
He couldn't get to the rope that was tossed to him. It was off to the side, so he couldn't get to it. So he was stuck. He couldn't go up or down. So he needed help.
Holy. Well, that's what happens when you
when
don't plan.
That's what I say. But, yeah. So anyhow, but yeah, you can get stuck up there. But on the top, they say it's just plants and stuff that are up there.
Huh. So it's not, there's no opening to go in. It's not like a volcano sort of thing where there's...
It's just ground.
So it's just ground.
Yeah.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Mm-hmm. So people do climb it to get to the top and then I guess come down. I mean, it can take, 18 hours. I don't know what they said, but it takes a while.
Seriously?
They said, well, I don't know. I think the shortest was like 18 minutes, and then there's one that can take like 18 hours. I mean, I guess it depends on how good you are at climbing, but
Yeah. Wow.
kind of neat. So anyhow, you've got the structure. You go to the visitor center so they can tell you a little bit about the structure. They do have those, what do they call them? Like you can go stand and use the binocular kind of things. What are those things
Oh,
called?
like a telescope.
Yeah.
But they have a different name. Are you talking about the ones with two?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a name for them. I just don't remember what it is.
If you know, let us know
Yeah.
because we would appreciate that. But anyhow, they have those, which the cool thing was the first time I ever went there, there was somebody actually climbing on the rock.
Oh, and you could watch them?
Yeah, you could actually watch them
Oh, that's
climb on
kinda
the
cool.
rock, which was actually kind of cool. But this thing is so big, like you really had a hard time finding the person that was climbing. So it was kind of cool.
That's
But,
cool.
Yeah. So anyhow, so you can go to the visitor center, and then there are many different hikes. They have small loops, they have bigger loops, they have things that kind of go down more into the valley and all, go down towards the river. So you got plenty of things to choose from, and we'll talk about some of that hiking in a second. But go ahead.
Would you call all these desert hikes?
No.
Is it desert or what's around there kind of?
Trees. There are plenty of trees.
Okay. So it's not a dry.
Well, it's kind of like it's dry in the bigger sense, but then as you get closer, there are more like pine trees and trees.
Okay.
Particularly if you take the Tower Trail, there are more trees that are there. If you go down further down into, like, say, closer to where the river is, then it is not a lot of trees down there. It's a little bit more flat and more, I guess, desert-y, but it's
Okay.
not desert like West Texas
Okay.
desert.
Okay.
At least I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it is. But yeah, the first time I went, it was just the shock of, kind of going and like looking and going, wow, this thing is huge. And at the time, because it was before they did a lot of improvements, in 21, they finished a lot of improvements to make a lot of things accessible, ADA accessible. And which was really cool that they did that, because then you could, if you're like in a wheelchair or you've got like a rollator or something, you can actually get to some of the trails. You can't really do all the trails or anything, but you can at least get to some of them, get closer. And that from the visitor center, you can access many of those hikes. And what you'll see, because again, you have to remember that this is kind of a Native American place, you'll see prayer bundles, which are kind of cloths and
nice.
stuff in
Yeah.
the trees. You're asked not to disturb them. You're asked to not photograph them, but you will see those along your walk. Whichever hike you're on, you're going to see those along your way.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's a lot of indigenous tribes that are in that area. I want to say like the Cheyenne, the Shoshone, Arapaho, are just some of them. But
And so then that sounds like the Devil's Tower is still instrumental in maybe ceremonies or something that they're having out there.
yeah, in fact, usually the month of June, they kind of voluntarily close down
Okay.
climbing of Devil's Tower, because that is kind of like the religious time, and so that allows for the indigenous folks to have their ceremonies and things.
It makes sense.
And yeah, so it's a great respect, I think, of the indigenous folks who were there before anybody else, of what their ancestry, their stories, their narratives, and all, and how they share that and what their ceremonies are.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
So, yeah, so it's really cool. But the first time I went, I did not do an actual hike. The second time that I went, which was just last year, I did one of the hikes, the Tower Trail hike, which wasn't really a long hike. I want to say it's like a mile and a half or something, but I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it because most people only see Devil's Tower from one perspective.
Right.
And it's not until you actually walk around the whole thing do you see the actual beauty of this monolithic structure.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So definitely recommend you doing that. I would, it's kind of a paved trail some of the way, and then it's kind of cleared. But I took my sticks because there are tree roots that stick out. And in some of the, sometimes you want to kind of move over and take a picture or whatever. It's just nice to have your sticks on hand to keep you steady. But it's a nice walk around to see the structure. And then you get to look out and you can see the river.
Okay. And the river, so the river is close.
Oh yeah, the river's close enough that you can see it. It's a bit of a hike to it. So the larger trail, larger than the Tower Loop Trail, takes you closer to the river, and that's a little bit longer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So again, it's it gets really crowded in the summer because a lot of people like to go see it, and usually you're on your way to some other place because it's in the middle of Wyoming, so there's not as much there. But I would say too that the other opportunity you have out there is to look around in that general area for other formations and things. There's not going to be anything like Devil's Tower, but you have an opportunity just to see what's out there in Wyoming if you've never driven out there, because they have some beautiful lands of just, it just looks like a picture postcard to me.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, would you say in the summer it's still okay to do hiking up there?
Yeah, especially if you do the Tower Trail. It was shaded enough for me. I was fine with that. I was saying, like in 21, they did a whole lot of renovations to kind of that main plaza area that's by the visitor center. There are benches there, so you have places that you can sit if you're, if it's hot or tired, you're tired. But they also have some relief type maps that you can, that have Braille on them too. It's really kind of an inviting place to just go hang out and kind of check it out, especially if there are climbers up there, because people really gather and just watch the climbers for a while.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of cool to do.
That is very cool. I was just thinking, and I doubt it, but I wonder if anybody's ever base jumped from there. Is it high enough to base jump? I don't know anything about skydiving.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know how high you have to be.
I don't either. But I mean, there's always somebody who's willing to try. We're not encouraging anything. Just saying.
We do not encourage that at all.
No, not at all. I was just curious. Because that's the first thing you think of when you see a static structure that's tall. There's always going to be somebody who wants to get up there and take some picture, or do some base jumping or do something crazy that just makes my stomach drop when I watch it.
Yeah. Well, I can't. Or the ones that do in the zip suits.
Yeah. And then
Yeah. I'm like, no.
No.
Yeah, no. That's a negatory for me.
Yeah, me too.
So Devil's Tower, as I was saying, getting out and seeing other things that are around there, it's considered part of this, what's called a Powder River group, which includes Devil's Tower, Bighorn Canyon National Recreational Area, Fort Laramie National Historic Site, and Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument. So those are kind of all in that general area. So there's plenty of other things to also check out whenever you're out there. Again, generally, like anytime I've been there, at least the couple of times that I've been there, I've been traveling to some other place, but it's on the way. So it's like, why not stop? Because it's the coolest looking structure. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's a definite. If you're driving somewhere and you look off to the left and you see that, you have to stop. I mean, how could you not stop?
If for nothing else, you'll go, I'm going to have my close encounters moment.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but I would stop because it looks funky. I would do that.
As I said, make sure you go to the visitor center, get your newspaper. This newspaper is really cool, as I said, just because it has so much information in it, and you'll get information about the trails if they're open or if they're closed or if there are any issues that are on any of the trails. So be sure to go talk to your friendly neighborhood national park ranger.
Yeah, and again, as a side note, most of the national parks have newspapers like that have all the information in there about all the hiking trails, what's closed for the week or the month, what you should or shouldn't access, what animal sightings have been seen. You definitely want to pick one of those up. I don't know that you want to save it for a few years, but
why not?
You want to pick one up for sure.
I don't know that the story changed. I don't even know which one this is from, last year or when it was.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about right there. You probably don't want to save it, but, you should pick one up while you're there. And it's a free source. And the rangers are a free source.
Oh my gosh, our rangers, they're just awesome. Our rangers, if you've visited other countries and met other rangers, they're not called rangers in other countries, but if you met people like that, you'll just appreciate ours so much. I'm just saying, they are knowledgeable folks. They really are.
She's not throwing shade to anybody else's rangers.
I would never do that. Ever. Ever. So, anyhow, get out to Devil's Tower, check out the history there, appreciate the history there, appreciate the indigenous folks that came before us, and also check out some of the hikes. They're not particularly hard hikes, and I would definitely suggest the Tower Trail because it's just, it's a nice one to get along, to walk around and get different angles of the tower, take different angle pictures. It's pretty cool.
All right. We do have the downloadable checklists on the website that you can download for free, and they're broken up into day hikes or city hikes, short hikes, and long hikes. We really appreciate anybody who is giving us a thumbs up. If you're subscribing, we appreciate you. If you're sharing, we appreciate you. We're trying to get our algorithm built up, so,
Engagement is important.
Yes, all of that. All of that. We really are appreciative of anybody that does that. Anything else?
No, just get out and explore. These are, some of these sites that we talk about are just places that are worth seeing in your lifetime, and they're accessible to most folks. And just get out there and have a go at it.
Road trip.
Road trip. That's what I did. Road trip. All right. So I think that's about it. So again, yeah, make sure you subscribe, and I think we need to tell them hike your
Hike your own
hike. All right. We'll check you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.